What's good, y'all? I've got some sick buffs for Scizor and Scyther. If you are a new viewer here and this is your first impression, pun not intended, of this hack, please make sure you check out the Google Sheet. It's linked right down below in the description. If this type of thing interests you, you can, bookmark it, subscribe to the channel, all that fun stuff, join my Discord server, whatever you want to do. But with that being said, I really do encourage you to check out this sheet right here. It says search all moves here. It's right on the bottom, and you can check out all 600 plus move buffs and changes. I've organized them into a million different categories for your viewing convenience, by type, by effect. You can control plus F them. You know, it's very, very detailed, as you can see on screen right now. It's got all types of crazy move buffs. I highly encourage that because it makes a great impact on the way that the Pokemon function, and I don't have time to get into every single one in these videos. Secondly, these changes are not meant to be looked at in a vacuum. Obviously, like 130 attack, speed boost Scyther is like ridiculous in a competitive sense, just because, I mean, anything with speed boost that's that strong is stupid, but it's balanced for in-game use. Although, honestly, as I'll get into later in the video, this is probably one of like the quote-unquote most, and I'm using this term very loosely, OP sweepers in this hack, because sweeping in general is heavily nerfed in a lot of ways, but Scyther kind of bypasses a good amount of those anti-setup stuff. There's some stuff that he absolutely will not be able to bypass, though, like the priority whirlwind, topsy-turvy roar and stuff, but I'll get into that later. I did balance Scyther and Scizor to both be equal. They have all types of new moves that synergize with their abilities. So Technician has dozens of new boosted options, which I'll get into in a little bit. And then Ruthless is a new ability that functions like Sniper, but it's reworked in the sense that there are so many new moves in this hack that will always crit. In fact, bug types in general are heavily buffed because Fairy, Fighting, and Ghost no longer resist bug, which is huge. Not to mention, First Impression is a reteachable TM, so you don't have access to an infinite move relearner in this hack until the end of the game, which means that, you know, part of the strategy and the skill of the hack is juggling your level up moves and being smart and skillful with when you teach specific moves, when you delete them, and, you know, making the most out of your Pokemon. Same goes for the fact that you have an infinite use ability capsule and infinite EV training items. So essentially, you're cycling between your abilities depending on the situation. You know, you have Technician or Speed Boost, Technician or Ruthless, and then Mega Scizor. Another thing that I like to do in this hack, not only do I make every Pokemon have two sets of unique abilities that are both like viable, meaning I want both ability to be useful in certain situations with that infinite use ability capsule, I also have Mega Scizor. Sorry, what am I trying to say? I also have the pre-Mega Pokemon, right? The Pokemon with Mega Evolutions. I have them be viable over the Mega form in a lot of cases, especially if you're doing a Team Lock Nuzlocke. There will be a lot of cases where you need a specific held item. Not to mention, a lot of the pre-Megas have different abilities. Well, they all have different abilities, but a lot of them have different, such a couple exceptions, like Audino and Pinsir, Keep Hustle, and Regenerator, but for the most part, they all have different abilities, and oftentimes they'll change type, you know, they'll change stat distribution, whatever it is. So despite the fact that Mega Scizor is bulkier and slightly faster and a lot stronger, it's actually not stronger, especially because, like, for example, with First Impression, Scizor with Technician or Ruthless is actually stronger than Mega Scizor. Reason being, First Impression is now a 60 base power move that always crits. So what that means is, with Technician or Ruthless, both of your abilities boost First Impression to 135 base power. It's really, really strong. Mega Scizor Tough Claws is obviously very fitting for him. He's got those, you know, big giant metal claws, and that allows him to use different moves than base Scizor would, because I never really liked how he's just like a stronger, bulkier Scizor. Like, it seems kind of boring. Not to mention, you can't use, like, you know, choice items or some stuff. Well, you know, base Scizor can. So this gives Mega Scizor a genuine niche, because there are a lot of stronger, higher base power moves that are not boosted by Technician or Ruthless that are, in fact, usable with Tough Claws. And then Intimidate is, first of all, like, design-wise fitting in my opinion anyways, but even if you're not convinced, first of all, having a defensive counterplay in a very, you know, in a relatively difficult ROM hack like this is nice, especially in, like, you know, hardcore Nuzlocke. You're going to want, you know, defensive stuff on your Pokemon. Not to mention, you do have Roost via TM, which is beautiful because you can teach that whenever you want to run bulkier Scizor or a Scyther. And I'll get into Scyther in a bit, because Scyther's really good as well, by the way. Like, Scyther's awesome. But yeah, with Intimidate, you could switch in. You know, you got that bug steel typing, you got that incredible base defense, you've got a solid base special defense as well, and you can really just go to town there with that Intimidate plus Roost and whatever else you want to take advantage of. U-turn, whatever. Parting Shot is huge. You know, can fulfill a very good defensive role with Mega Scizor. He's definitely better defensively than base Scizor, although base Scizor can run Assault Vest for certain boss fights if you need to take a special hit. They can take a special hit better than Mega Scizor. So. And they can also run, you know, a Focus Sash or Aqua Berry or whatever you want to do to live a specific attack and retaliate back. excuse me. Yeah, Scyther and Scizor. I'm gonna get into all the Ruthless boosted options first, and then I'll talk about Technician. And, you know, actually, I'll quickly talk about Ruthless because that's the quicker one. So Ruthless, obviously, you have that first impression. You also have, if you click this link here, you can see a full list of moves that are boosted by both abilities. With Ruthless, you have finishing blow, which is also basically these top two moves are both Technician and Ruthless boosted. Okay, that's the main like cool thing about Scizor. Finishing blow, that's 80 base power almost with Technician or Ruthless, and that will give you +3 attack when you knock something out. So you can use that with Bullet Punch and, you know, with a Technician and just go crazy or whatever you want to do. It's got so many fun things. First Impression is a beautiful attack just to deal with all types of crazy offensive like fast Pokemon in this hack. You can just switch in your Scizor First Impression, boom, it's dead. You know, assuming there's no terrain or, you know, whatever else it is. Of course, there's always more to it than that, but it's just in general is a very no-nonsense move. Also for you to fight against. For example, Guzma with his First Impression Pokemon are going to go absolutely crazy, but yeah, you also can't use Protect on First Impression anymore, so you have to keep that in mind. You know, you really just need a Bug Resist or something to switch in on that, or Shell Armor type Pokemon or whatever it is, just some type of counterplay, because you can't use screens. Crits will go through that. It's not that strong, like if it's not boosted by Ruthless. If it's not boosted by Ruthless, Hustle, or Technician or something, or it's not Stab, it's not going to deal that much damage, so I wouldn't be worried about it. But if it's coming from one of these guys on this list or whatever else, it's definitely something to be afraid of, especially on the Stab bug type ones like Scizor and Armaldo and Heracross and Pinsir and Golisopod. And I could keep listing them all, but there's only a couple more bug types. What is it? Golisopod, Ariados, and Beedrill. Yeah, those are all the bugs that get it. That get Ruthless. Of course, there's some with Hustle and there's some with Technician as well. But I'm getting sidetracked. My point is, with Ruthless, you can use all of these moves. You have Wicked Blow, which will always crit. That is a good coverage option. 180 base power. And then you have all of these 50% crit moves, which are the ones that you use much earlier in the hack. Like, that's for earlier use. You've got Scizor Laceration for your dual stab. And then you've got tons of great coverage of Jagged Edge, Night Slash, Cross Chop, Cycle Cut, all types of, you know, Leaf Blade. You got all types of crazy coverage moves in that. You do have to be careful about which ones you teach, though. So, you know, you might not even want to run into the coverage ones, honestly. Although you will have some, you know, for certain points of the game is useful, then just delete it later, whatever it is. As for Technician, you have tons of new options with Technician as well. Technician is sick with on Scyther. You have dual Wing Beat, of course. It's also good on Scizor, but especially on Scyther. It's 135 base power now with Technician, and it's 100% accurate. It's 90 base power normally, right? So it's 45 base power per hit. It also has a 27% chance to flinch overall, so it's in general an incredible move on Scyther, and I would even keep it on Scizor, but especially on Scyther, it's huge and definitely like a staple move. Even with the speed boost sets, you know, Dual Wing Beat is still a strong stab option. You do have Dive Bomb, which is another strong option. Acrobatics means you can't use a Violite, so that's a little bit of a con, because Scyther is actually very bulky with the Violite, and you don't have to worry about entry hazards in this hack. You know, the only boss fights that are using entry hazards are going to be like T-Spikes and Sticky Web. Stealth Rocks are not good for the AI to use. Maybe a couple boss fights is like a very gimmicky type thing we'll use Stealth Rock, but it's not like every battle type thing, because the AI doesn't know how to pressure the player like a real person would, to like force switches and cause you to take chip from Stealth Rock. Obviously, it's like, it would be annoying if rocks were on the field, but it's just not something I also don't like the idea of certain types of Pokemon just being worse because of the fact that they're weak to rock. I don't like that. So yeah, Wolf won't show up very often at all in this hack, so don't worry about that 4 times rock's weakness. It's not a factor. This is not competitive play. This is a ROM hack. It's, you know, custom made for, you know, hardcore Nuzlocke and stuff. But yeah, Scyther, because of the fact that Bug and Flying no longer has to worry about, you know, Stealth Rocks, Bug and Flying is actually a good defensive typing, believe it or not. Resistances are a lot more important than weaknesses, in my opinion, in a ROM hack, especially because you're fighting against AI. All you have to do is pivot around on resisted attacks. They're never going to predict, like, they don't know how to predict, right? So they're just going to click whatever's in front of them. So you can easily pivot in and bait not very effective moves. So by nature, Pokemon with immunities and resistances can get on the field a lot easier. And because of that, Scyther has very valuable 4 times resists in fighting and grass, as well as a resistance to bug, which is very valuable in this hack. With a Violite, it can swallow first impressions for days. It's also got an immunity to ground, so in general, Bug Flying, genuinely a good defensive typing in this hack, actually good. And then of course you do have, you know, a decent amount of weaknesses, but it's like, weaknesses are not nearly as important as resistances in when you're fighting against AI. So there's a bunch of other stuff with Technicians. So you do have Bullet Punch, obviously, on Scizor, which is now 50 base power, so that's 75 overall. You have Creeping Strike, which is the same exact thing as Bullet Punch, but it's bug type, so that's awesome for Scyther and Scizor. Scyther also has Aerial Ace, which is now a priority move, so that's 83.5 base power and has +2 priority, so that's even better for Scyther. Obviously, Scyther's already incredibly fast, so I wouldn't even say that those priority moves are worth keeping for that long. Although for certain situations you can keep them, of course. But you're super quick. Like you have speed boost too. Like you really don't need it. The only one I would ever run would be like first impression via TM because it is reteachable. If you want to just kill something super fast or whatever, you can switch it in and get that strong ass 135 base power technician boosted first impression, and you can always U-turn a parting shot out. You got Roost, you got a Violate. It's so good. Scyther, genuinely an incredible option over Scizor. That speed set is also super important, and again, a Violate makes it a lot bulkier than Scizor. It doesn't have the bug and steel typing. I just accidentally deleted that text. Doesn't have that bug and steel defensive typing, but bug flying is also good, and it is it is bulkier and faster, and it's equally as strong as Scizor as well. And you have technician dual wing beat and stuff. So yeah, that's awesome. As for speed boost, it's a very brainless ability. Me personally, I would probably not allow myself to use it in conjunction with Swords Dance because Scyther can easily swallow first impressions with the Violate. So all you'd really need to do for a lot of boss fights, if they don't have priority roar, whirlwind, topsy turvy, or hard swap or something like that, is just click Swords Dance with speed boost with like max HP and even max defense if you wanted, and then just click that and sweep with like finishing blow or something. And it's like kind of brainless. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's good for utility, which is what I would use it for. I would use it like maybe with finishing blow, but I wouldn't use it in conjunction with Swords Dance. It just feels kind of cheap, even if Swords Dance only has 1 PP, and even if there is other, like, there's still going to be other anti-setup stuff. Like in general, getting it on the field might be kind of difficult in some cases, but you can always exploit the AI and get off of Swords Dance like halfway through the battle and sweep like half the team. So in general, I wouldn't abuse speed boost. It's just there like for the option. I would have used it more just for like utility stuff, like I said, like with Roost and Parting Shot. Like you can use max HP. That's the main benefit of speed boost, is you can use max HP, and after 1 turn you're outspeeding literally everything in the game. Even if you have a minus speed nature, 0 speed IVs, and 0 speed EVs, you're still outspeeding like everything in the game after 1 turn of speed boost. So that's really nice. With max HP and a Violate, you're super tanky, like really tanky. You're living hits you wouldn't think you would otherwise live, and yeah, he's just super cool and super fun. You've also got like Bulk Up, which has 3 PP, so that's even crazier with speed boost. And you could use max HP, max SPDF, bulk up, whatever. It's pretty brainless with Roost and stuff. Like it's kind of cheap, but I'm still gonna get the Scyther because I like Scyther a lot. And Ninjask no longer has speed boost, so there was a bug flying speed boost type option. I also fits Scyther a lot if you're not sure with why I gave it to Scyther. If you do read the Pokedex, it's also why he's so fast. It literally says he moves faster than the eye can see, and his movements are like a ninja's and stuff. So yeah. I love Scyther. He's super cool. Scizor's also sick. They're all sick. I mean, Mega. So like they can all do so many things. I would say once you get the Mega, if you really want that defensive option and you need that steel typing, you could use Mega Scizor and Base Scizor interchangeably. Otherwise, you can keep Scyther. It's up to your personal preferences. But as a whole, there's a couple other technician options I could quickly mention, and I'll probably try to end off the video because I don't want these to go on for too long. You do have stuff like Bug Biting. Bug Biting is essentially dual wing beat, but for bug type, and it's 35 base power instead of 45. So with Technician, that's 105 base power, which is really strong. That's like, and it hits twice, so it bypasses, Tango Barrier and all that stuff. So it's a really good move. Bug Biting is awesome, and it's also reteachable. That's the beautiful part. It's one of those moves that you can cycle on and off. So when you're running speed boosts, you don't have to run Bug Biting as your bug stab. You can use other bug moves, but yeah, Bug Biting, Technician, super strong. Knockoff is 60 base power, so that's always Technician boosted now, no matter what. Acrobatics technically would be 83.5 base power Technician, but like I guess if you don't have the wing beat yet, because it is a level 45, you could use Acrobatics or Aerial Ace as your flying stab. It's actually not terrible with Technician. And then Sky Attack is, what am I trying to say? Technician options, yeah. First Impression, I already did that. Steel Wing, oh my god, I almost forgot the GOAT, Steel Wing, it's so sick, yeah. So Steel Wing gives you +1 defense now, and it's 60 base power, so it's almost like it was made for Scizor, and also Scyther it's good on. But especially Scizor, because it's stab, you get a Technician 60 base power boosted stab option, and that gives you +1 defense, and it's a TM, which is like a big pro. Scizor also has Vice Grip upon evolution, which will trap the opponent, and that is the same base power as Steel Wing, so that's also 90 base power with Technician, which is just a good steel type stab. It's stronger than Iron Head, so that's pretty cool. Of course, with Ruthless you have Laceration and stuff, and the crits also have the benefit of bypassing stuff like Intimidate and all the defensive boosts on the opponent's side. So Ruthless still has utility, even though Technician, like, you might might think it's still better, especially because like you have to keep something full of punch. Like you would never, ideally, you'd never delete that, you know. So yes, he does have 4 moves on Syndrome, but so does like every other Pokemon in the game. You gotta be smart with what moves you teach. Depends on your other teammates and all that stuff. Fury Swipes and Pummel are also multi-hit moves that Scyther will learn just in time for Olivia. Pummel especially being great for Olivia with Technician. Those are just multi-hit moves, Dark and Fighting type respectively. And then yeah, really that's about it. Also Scizor gets Rock Tomb, which is Technician boosted. 90 base power rock option, just for certain situations. Hyper Speed, that gives you +3 speed. That's actually really good on Scizor, especially if you got like crappy speed IVs. You don't have to run any speed investment, and you'll still outspeed everything in the game with max HP, max attack, Hyper Speed, Finishing Blow, Technician. You know, I'm giving you some cheat codes here, but that's pretty great, especially because Scizor also resists First Impression, and he has a great base defense stat, so you can easily swallow them. So again, you only have to worry about like the phasing stuff and Focus Sash Pokemon, which are also hurt by the fact that you have multi-hit moves like the Wing Beat and Bug Biting. So yeah, these guys are really fucking good. I'll try to leave the video off there. There's a couple other things I could mention, but if you're curious, just leave a comment down below. Let me know. Power Up Punch, that's the last Technician option that I forgot to mention. Power Up Punch. Probably a couple others I'm forgetting, but they're probably not that good. Like, yeah, technically Metal Claw is, but not worth keeping. All right, I'll be back for more Bustin' Changes coming up, y'all. Peace. Love these guys, man.